So we finally got a break from the rain. It's in the 70s today. Of course, tomorrow it's going to get up into the 90s, and they're talking about record heat, but I don't think 90s is really that bad. I mean, it's warm, but us being underneath those trees, it really doesn't bother us too bad. I mean, we survived last summer just fine. I don't even think we really got that overheated. But at least the rain has stopped. It has rained every day, or at least every other day for, I don't know, at least it seems to me that in March it snowed like every other day or something like that. It was just terrible, and then it just turned into rain, and it hasn't stopped. So at least it's over with for the 10-day forecast. So maybe we can get some things done. I was able to get the grass cut finally, and that was getting to be a pretty bad problem. Last night I went down and moved the solar panels around a little bit, and there was a snake underneath them. So I mean, they're already had a good little hiding spot with how thick that grass was, and it took me quite a while to cut it, probably about 2 hours to cut it this morning. I just had to go really slow. Of course, there's a lot of wet spots still in the yard, so I tracked up mud, you know, the mud tracks you'll see here, but I didn't have any choice. I had to do something, and so I blew all the grass, at least as much as I could, into the chicken run. The chickens love grass cutting day. They used to hate the sound of the lawnmower, but now they come running. They really like it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but we got our little bitty chicks, the ones that the hen sat on for all those 21 days. I brought them outside today into their new little home. It's still a little cold at night for them. It's supposed to get down to 66 tonight, and it should be in the 70s, 75. So we'll bring them back in probably for another week. You know, bring them out during the day and then take them back in at night. Unless it's above 70, I like to try to bring them out here so they can get acclimated to it. They seem to like it out here. But I gave them 2 little houses. I got this house, and it's connected to this house. Their food and water's in there. And then there's a little room where we're going to put straw in, and they'll be able to sleep in their little room up there. And then in 7 days, we'll have the 22 eggs hatched from the incubator. So this all worked out pretty good. Just about the time these guys are about ready to come out, getting them acclimated out here. So another week, they can come outside. And even if it's still too cold for them, in a week, the 22, we got 2 cages. The 22 of them can go in 1 cage for another week. They won't outgrow that 1 cage in a week. And then we'll be able to put those in the other cage for a week, and then the bigger ones can come out. It's all working out. Now, we also got the Brahmas that we're going to pick up from the hatchery. We got 7 Brahmas, and then the 22 meat birds, and that will be all raised together at the same time. I still got to pull some weeds over here, get all that cleaned up. So Carolyn has pretty much given up on the idea that we're going to till this garden. She came out, she tested it, she said, oh, this is no big deal. She'll just dig some holes, put her tomatoes in it, and whatever else she wants to plant. We can push the corn seeds in pretty easy, and then what we'll do is just lay our compost leaf pile. We'll lay that down, just kind of so the grass doesn't grow up. It's just too muddy. I tried to mow this today, and I was kind of doing a fishtailing on a lawnmower. Of course, lawnmower has chains on it, on the tires, on the back tires, so it just plows right through, but the front tires weren't turning. They were just kind of sliding along like sleds. So I'm very thankful that the rain event is going to slow up a little bit. And now it's going to turn off hot, and I knew that's what would happen. It'd be cold and rainy, cold and rainy, cold and rainy, and then instantly heat. That's kind of the way Missouri is. We don't get a spring, we get a milder winter, and then summer. So Carolyn's in the house right now, kind of rearranging everything. Being in a tiny house and raising chickens, it's difficult. Having a bigger house with chickens is just much easier. Every time we have to raise chickens, we have to rearrange everything. For example, Carolyn puts the dish rack on top of the can jars, the jars of canned meat. She always leaves them there, and today she had to move them. And it's just have to rearrange everything. It works, everything works. We just have to be patient with the lifestyle. I think Carolyn sometimes wishes there was a little bit more storage space But we've been bringing a lot of food outside. So the only thing left is the canned food. And eventually we'll be able to get that outside, eventually. And I know as soon as I say this, everybody's gonna yell at me. We're gonna get the root cellar finished one of these days. You would think there would be freezers everywhere. That's what we're looking for, is an old freezer nobody's using. You would think they would be everywhere. And for the last year, we have not found a freezer to put in this hole. I dug the hole, all I gotta do is put a freezer in it. Can't find our old freezer. But if we could get the canned food out of there, I think she'd be much happier. But really, how much space does two people really need? If you think about this, we owned a little, I don't know, probably 400 square foot house. We didn't own it, we rented it. We pretty much just stayed in the living room all the time. And then you have this kitchen, and then we had a bedroom. But we've consolidated all that into one living space, a room just a little bit bigger than a bedroom. And it works so well. I think this is what's going to happen in the future. Housing prices are getting so high that young people can't afford to buy houses. I heard that the mortgage rates, that most mortgage companies won't give a loan anymore in most states. I mean, it's crazy. And I didn't understand the whole article, so I'm not going to go through it. But if you can build yourself a little house on wheels for $5,000, and you can find a state that'll let you park it, it's really convenient. Now, the thing I find interesting is around here, there's actually a trailer park just down the ways from us. As a matter of fact, we got 2 trees that had fallen over from over there. They were poplar trees. And we cut them up and brought them over here. Well, now somebody else has taken ownership of that since we've been over there. And there is somebody living in a Home Depot shed. You know, buy those sheds for, well, I don't know, several $1,000s. Somebody parked one over there. There's another one down the road. So in this area, this is a very popular idea, taking these storage sheds and making them into houses. Now, to me, I didn't like the storage shed. They're really expensive for what you're getting. What we have is a metal house. Inside of it, we have particle board, the OSB, but the rest of it is just metal. Then we use 2x6s, and we were able to insulate the 2x6s. Well, those little sheds are made out of 2x4s, and they just seem cheaply made to me. I've taken you on a tour, I mean, a long time ago, of these houses, and you can get payment plans. So, I mean, it's a good option. You can get a house this size, let's just say $5,000, but you'd have to do work to it. You'd have to hang insulation, probably hang a ceiling, because they don't have ceilings, they just got the rafters. So you'd have to do a lot of internal work to it. So now you're running up your costs, buying more materials, whereas we was able to do it all for one price. Now, a lot of the materials we were able to find on Facebook Marketplace. All our windows and the door, we found on Facebook Marketplace. I don't even think we spent over $200 for all the windows and the doors. It might have been just over $200. One guy was selling them at a yard sale. The OSB that we used, I wasn't going to use OSB originally, but Carolyn found a really good deal on it, so I went ahead and bought it. I don't know, I mean, it was like $5 a sheet, brand new, never been used. So we were able to buy that, and we layered the house in OSB before we put up the metal siding, the metal roofing material. Now, I understand a lot of people can't build things. I can't either. This is the first thing I really ever built. I mean, I've built a porch and a little dog shed and just knick-knacks, odds and ends. I built the camper. But for the most part, I've never really built anything. This was all new to me. I built the rafters. If you go back and you go to my playlist, you'll see I built it all by scratch. Dad found me, or bought me some blueprint for the rafters, and I cut out the angles and everything. So it just, you can do it. It's not that you have to have experience. You just have to pay attention to what you're doing. And study, 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 research, research, research. Did I do everything right? Probably not. I mean, I took a lot of shortcuts just because I could. I didn't put an extra beam on there. Remember, when I built this, the material costs were skyrocketing. This was during the lockdown. Lumber cost was just through the roof. I don't know if they've come back down or not. So I was trying to save on some lumber costs. Since I didn't have to build it to code, it all worked out. Of course, there was a lot of people who said they built houses before, but it was pretty obvious to me that the people who were arguing with me wasn't really thinking about how to take shortcuts. You have to build it this way because that's just the way everybody's built things in the last, how many years. So if you think about it, you can do things. The porch, everybody thought the porch was going to blow away, and it hasn't. I mean, it's a really sturdy porch. It's done a nice job. But if you look, everybody was worried that I was going to use buckets. I use buckets for concrete in it to hold it so it doesn't move. Not to keep it from lifting up, but to keep it from moving. It's actually attached to the porch, to the frame, the metal frame. So if the porch is going to go, the whole house has to go. And that's the only thing that's connected to the house. Now, the thinking behind this is if I ever wanted to move the house, I could put wheels on it and move it because it's on a trailer frame. I could simply cut off the bucket, unscrew it from the porch, lift the porch off, and I can move the house with a tow hitch on the truck. The house probably doesn't weigh that much. I do know it weighs more than what a little scissor jack can lift, because I tried to lift one corner of this house when I was putting on the siding, and the scissor jack wouldn't do it. So it's a little heavier than what a car would weigh, I guess, but I'm sure it's pretty light. So if you can find yourself a piece of property in one of these Midwestern states that would allow you to do it. I know Tennessee would allow you to do it. Missouri allows you to do it. There's not a lot of states that will let you do things like this, but there are a few. And if you can find a piece of property, $4,200, and I know it can be done because I heard somebody else do it before. So it can be done. Now, I know a lot of people want their 20 acres. To me, that's a security risk. So I have a new super thanks button down here. So if you like this video, I'd appreciate it. If you give me a little tip jar, I appreciate it. So I hope I can inspire you. Think small, live big. Thanks for watching.